Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. Now, Sleepy Reader suggested I should just call this Weekend Update because I miss my Friday night chat deadline so often, but I don't know. So this is a Sunday, and I'm doing my Friday night chat. I came home from work on Friday, and I was very involved in my project, which I'm going to talk about. And so I just threw myself into that project, and I didn't feel like making a video. And I was working on my project yesterday, among other things. And so I felt like doing it today. So there you have it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about mostly Oscar-related stuff. However, I am going to be talking about 2 books and my project that I've been going on, and so I'll probably do that in reverse order. But I'm going to start off with an A-OK that I got from Stevey D. He sent me 5 comics in the mail, and it was a delight to open these. Now, the first one is this Tinkerbell comic, and it is in pretty rough shape. I don't care. As long as I have a really nice cover like this, it's going to look beautiful in Mylar. And I actually started reading this, and it is a hoot. It's everything that you want from a really old comic. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So thank you, Stevie D, for that. This is a gem. Next, he sent 3 other, basically Gold Key, but 2 of them are Whitman's, which, if you don't know, I believe Gold Key had a contract with Whitman, and they could publish their comics. To be honest, I don't really know how that worked. But here's a 15-cent Bugs Bunny. And I really like the backgrounds of these. And next, this one is really cute. This one is a 60-center, so later. So this is Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and they've caught on to Donald's snorkel, or is that what that thing's called? Anyways, that's a cute cover, and I do love yellow. And here is a 40-center, and this one is really cute too. It's got Huey, Dewey, and Louie, each in their own beds. They're each reading a different type of book or genre, and they're each dressed that way. Pretty cool, pretty cute cover. And finally, he sent me an Alex Ross cover, Kirby Genesis. That's a pretty cool cover. So I bet the content of that is really interesting as well. Thank you so much, Stevie D. These are great. Now I'm going to continue. No, yesterday my husband went out, and we were walking down the street. We went to eat, and then we were walking to the record store, and we each only bought 1 album. I actually picked out 3, but I put 2 back. The one that I bought is this Kate Bush album. It looked to be brand new. I got it for $15, and I just love the art on this album. And the back is pretty funny because Kate Bush is flying around in different as a bat. It's pretty hilarious when you look at the pictures. And it has interior art that's really nice. Overall, it's just a really nice album, the packaging. It reminds me kind of Carole King. One of her albums was like this. And then it has that great label on it. So I was very happy to get that for, it was pretty much a brand new album for a decent price. And then my husband wanted this Cher single. It was actually kind of expensive. But it's Song for the Lonely. And so we got him that one. He wanted it. And it's actually 2 albums are in here. They must be 45s. And so that's going to bring me to, we were walking down the street, and my husband was like, hey, the Oscars are tomorrow. So I forget who mentioned it. And he's like, yeah, and you haven't been bothering me this year. Every time you want to watch a movie, say, oh, let's watch this one. It's Oscar. It's nominated for Oscar. And he was like saying it all like this is something he hates when I say it every year. So it kind of bugs him. So I was Oscar shamed on the street. I don't know, like, what's up with that, Frank? Just Oscar shaming me in public. So I actually came home, and the rest of this video is, was I Oscar shamed enough that I jumped back into the Oscars? It was pretty late. But I am going to talk about that in a bit. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about before I move on to the books and the movies is the project that I've been working on. So I bought a bunch of the Golden Age Mylars and the thick backing boards. And I'm rearranging my comics, and I have a picture of it, but it's hard to do this in a way that's really interesting and consistent. Now, comic books come in 3 basic sizes when you line them up. So you have the golden, you have the, hold on, it's not lining up right. You have the golden, you have the silver, and then you have the current or the modern. And so you can see that they are 3 different sizes. I have the 3 of them lined up here. And even within those sizes, you can get bags that are wildly different. So, for example, this is a golden bag, and as you can see, it fits pretty snugly around this comic. Now, this is a Golden Age bag from another company, and as you can see, there's a lot more space. And so, even when you're buying bags like this, you have to be careful which company, and you have to be consistent in it, or else your collection's just gonna be mismatched. Now, so here's the thing that I'm wrestling with. So when you have the comics in a drawer, I'm going to show you a picture. They're going to look very chaotic. So let me pull up the picture. Sorry. So here's a picture of my actual drawer. So I've done this row, and as you can see, when you look at them, they look very uniform. And I've done this row, but then when you get to this, let me kind of zoom in on it. You get bags that are all different sizes and all over the place. And my argument is that even though it's more expensive and it takes up more space, I really like these thick backing boards. And I think comics look amazing inside of these things. And so, little by little, I am arranging them so that they don't look like that. And here's another issue that I have. So, right now, I've been putting all the Silver Age together. And so that means I've got to break up my series. So let's say I have a Superboy series. So I'm going to have Superboy issues in all different sizes. And in order to keep them in the drawers uniform, that means I'm going to have to put all of the Golden Age ones together, which I don't have many, actually. All the silver, and then finally all of the modern. And they will be in different places. And it seems weird to do it that way, but I just like the way it looks uniformly in the drawers. And so it's kind of breaking with tradition, but I'm going to continue doing that. Now, was that TMI? I don't know. I'm just telling you about my collection and the way I'm doing it right now. And I've gotten some positive feedback about people telling me they're interested in how I'm doing this and what choices I'm making. And I guess I'll just continue to do that. So that's going to mean that right now, I'm working on my Golden Age, and I'm going to put all my Golden Age together in the other kinds of filing cabinets. They fit in there nicely. And then I am going to separate my silver and my modern, just to keep them uniform like that. Okay. So that brings us to the books, the movies and the books. Now, I have a couple of things that I want to show that I keep forgetting. I do the New York Times games, and often I'm chatting with a friend while I do them. And sometimes the tiles just look gorgeous. So in this game, you have to make a chain and eliminate everything that's like, and you keep going around. And I mean, doesn't that thing look beautiful? There's a couple more that I want to show you. If you know the New York Times tiles, then like my friend, she said she won't do that. But look at how much fun that is. I think that's gorgeous. And the next one, this one, when you first look at it, it looks like a nightmare, but it's actually pretty easy. So if you're not doing the New York Times tile, game. It's fun and it's relaxing, although some of the other games are a lot more challenging. Here's a picture I took at Home Depot of all places. I mean, look at that sky. I just took that one on Friday. So I'm just showing you some odds and ends photos. A couple weeks ago, I saw this, and I just cracked up. Now, these, I guess, are very common memes that Yoko Ono visits the Enterprise. And I don't know, especially this one. I just cracked up. Now, I actually really like Yoko Ono, and I don't mind her singing at all. But this meme is pretty funny. And then my friend said, oh, this is a meme. And she found me another one, and it's equally funny. Poor Yoko Ono. But man, that was pretty funny when I first saw it on I think it was on Facebook. Okay, so that is going to lead me into the 2 books. Now, I'm kind of cheating because I read the second book in the C.S. Lewis Space Trilogy, and the other book I'm going to talk about I haven't finished yet, so that's why it's a little bit cheating. But I read this book. The first one was called Out of the Silent Planet, and it was good. It was very much like an Edgar Rice Burroughs book. And then I listened to this one, and it's batshit crazy. I mean, it is so wild. And almost everybody that I looked for reviews online is Christian, and they all love this book. And I thought it was fine, but it's just so crazy. Now, basically, it's a modern telling of, or, it's C.S. Lewis's time, of a new Garden of Eden on Venus. And it's it's just very, very biblical, and I don't mind any of that, but it's just so strange. So the main character arrives on Venus, and he's guided there by these angelic beings, and he meets a woman there, and she's basically Eve. She's like the new Eve on this planet. So the Adam and Eve didn't go so well on Earth, and so God is trying it again on a new planet. And so this is the same kind of story, but if it played out in the right way. And you're going to get all the temptations and everything. Pretty soon, Weston from the first book, he arrives, but he has a passenger in his body, and that's one of the evil spirits. And quickly, the evil spirit takes over full-blown possession, and he's basically the serpent. And the way he interacts with Eve and the main character is actually really, really interesting. But they just have these philosophical battles, arguments, and they go on and on. It like really drags the story down. But if you're into that kind of thing, you might really enjoy them. But his name is Weston. So the possessed Weston is he uses intelligence like a tool, and he's constantly harping at Eve, and like giving her a philosophical argument after argument after argument. And when she tires, she just goes to sleep. And there's this really interesting passage where then, the demon, he's just using it as a tool, and he sloughs it off. He's only using intelligence for a reason. And it's a pretty cool idea. And then all he does is he turns to the main character and just torments him. Like, all he does is sit there, and as his name's Ransom, as he's trying to sleep, the demonic guy will just say, ransom, 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 over and over, like some demonic brat. And the guy can't get any sleep, so he's exhausted. And it's just this constant torment. This book is crazy. I'm not going to say it's bad, but if you're not into like Christianity in your sci-fi, you might not enjoy this. But I was kind of, I was like laughing, not in a bad way, but sometimes I was bored with it because it would just go on and on with the philosophizing. But some people actually really like that. And, it was all about, in the end, it's all like, yay, God wins, and, and Garden of Eden is they got it right. We didn't. Sorry, spoilers. But this book is just weird and wild, and I don't know. Paralandra. I was warned that his stuff gets really Christian, and the first book I didn't see it, but man, this one slaps you in the face. I'm very interested in reading or listening to the third book, or the final book in this trilogy. So next, I started the first of the Dune books after Frank Herbert. And so it's written by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. And it's called Dune House Atreides. And it's very long. It's like 27 or 28 hours. And I'm 8 hours into it. I absolutely love it. It's so good. It's like you're dropped right back into the Dune world. And this is taking place before the original Dune series. So we're with Paul's father at his time when he was growing up. And you're introduced to this cast of characters. You see Baron Harkonnen as a youth, and you get the Bene Gesserit. I mean, you get everybody. It's just like it drops you right back into the Dune world. The style of Dune is there. They introduce it with the little quotes, and then it goes into like the son and Kevin J. Anderson did a really good job of mimicking the style of the father. And this might be blasphemy, but Frank Herbert's writing could get pretty bogged down. And so far, this is flowing more. And he would get bogged down in all of these very political discussions that would go on page after page. They were never boring, but they would just be there. And you have some of that here, but so far I'm like 1/3 of the book. It's not, overwhelming. And there's so much in these books that are fun. So far, this book that is fun. Like, for example, Baron Harkonnen likes young boys. And he does horrible things with them. And he is required to have sexual intercourse with a Bene Gesserit woman. And it's pretty funny, like how he has, like what he's saying in his mind about her, and how he has to like goad himself up to do it, and what she's thinking about him, like she doesn't care. She's like, they just got to get this done, and it's a pretty funny scene in the book, actually. There's a lot in these books that are pretty cool. In this book, and I was shocked because online, I've warned, you get these warnings about how these books aren't good, and I don't know, that just seems like maybe the fans of the original fans of Dune, they love Frank Herbert so much that it's kind of a blasphemy for anybody else, to jump into this world. But man, the son is doing it great. Now, I will, again, review it next week. Hopefully, I'll be done with the first book, and I can give an overall view. But I'm 8 out of 27 hours, and that's a pretty big chunk. It's about 1/3 of the book. And, yeah, loving it. Loving it. All right. Moving on. So next, I have a couple of movies before we actually get into the Oscar stuff. So the first movie I'm going to talk about is Elevation. Now, I picked this movie because it was new, and for the stars, I know both of those stars. Seen them in so many other things, and just because of the content. And so here's another picture of one of the creatures on it. So this was made, I guess, or produced by the people who did A Quiet Place. And you could totally tell this is a Quiet Place movie, but nowhere near as good. Now, I'm not going to say this is a horrible movie. It's not. But it's totally what it looks like. If you're looking for a serious sci-fi that's bending the genre and going in new places, this is not the movie. This is a fun popcorn movie to watch for free. And if you take it for what it is, you're going to have a good time. It's monsters chasing humans, and humans, getting the better of them and trying to survive. And along the way, a few people are going to be sacrificed. I mean, we've seen this in so many other movies. Now, the premise of this movie is that these creatures have wiped out the entire human population, except anybody who was above 8,000 feet. if you were at 8,000 feet, and if you stay above 8,000 feet, you're safe. But once supplies are starting to dwindle, people need to venture below 8,000 feet, to survive. And so that's where the drama starts taking place in this movie. Um, I would, I'm going to say 3 out of 5. Probably I should give it 2 out of 5, but it's not bad. It's just silly fun. So take that with a grain of salt. If you don't like sci-fi movies, then you probably shouldn't watch this. If you like schlocky horror movies, B movies, this will be a pleasant surprise for you, because it's not really B, but it is a B movie. I don't know if that made sense. So next, I watched the Robert Eggers movie, Nosferatu, and I heard so much praise for this movie. And there's so many fans out there of Robert Eggers, and I'm one of them. I've liked everything that I've seen of his movies, and this movie didn't disappoint. It's a visual feast. It's gorgeous. Bill Skarsgård does not look like that in the movie. This really, and he's perfect to play this because he's so thin, and with the makeup and everything, but he's unrecognizable in this movie. I was looking and I could not tell that it was him under all the makeup, and it's not that they shy away from showing him, but the makeup is so good, and the visuals are so good, and the music is good. Yeah, it's a really good movie. I would highly recommend that you watch it. Next, one of my viewers recommended The Penguin, which is a show on Max, and I've been meaning to watch it. So I started actually watching it. Let me turn a little bit. I started actually watching it, and the very beginning, they reference so much that happened in the Batman movie. And I turned it off, and I decided, let me watch the Batman movie, but it's 3 hours. Now, this is not the first time I'm watching. I think this is the third. I actually really enjoyed this movie the first time, and watching it again, I absolutely enjoyed it again. Now, is it the Christopher Nolan version? No. Those movies are amazing. He's one of my favorite directors, modern directors. But this movie is really good. Now, I think this movie suffered because it was made so close to the Christopher Nolan movies. Had it been made, more of a distance away from those movies in time, then maybe it could have been appreciated more. But I think this is a really good movie. It's like a serial killer movie with a superhero in it. It's very dark. It's gritty. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. I really like this movie. And then when they play the Nirvana song, Something in the Way. Now, number one, that's a great song. And I think they play it twice in the movie. And the first time they play it and he's cruising along on his bike, man, it's such a great moment in the movie. It really gets you pumped. This movie is so good. So now I'm ready to watch The Penguin. And that's going to bring us to the Oscars, the Academy Awards, and I was Oscar shamed. So I went ahead and I made a ballot and I crossed off everything that I've seen. Now, unfortunately, I added Conclave to this, and I actually haven't watched it. I'm actually going to watch it as soon as I'm done with this. So, that's everything. Of the Best Picture ones, I've basically seen Dune, Part 2, and Emilia Perez. For the directing, only Emilia Perez. Many of these things I haven't seen, which is a shame. I really did drop the ball this year on the Oscars. So yesterday, since my husband Oscar shamed me, I usually really enjoy watching the Oscar shorts and animated. And so I started by going online and checking which were available. And I was very happily pleased to find out that every documentary short was available to me except for one. Now, when it came to the animated shorts, on the other hand, nothing was available. And I usually really enjoy those. But I was able to watch 2 of the 5 live action shorts. So I'm going to be talking about those 4. So the short documentary film They are I Am Ready, Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. And I have pictures to support that. So the first one I watched right off the bat was a gut punch. Man, this was a powerful short movie. They're all about 30 minutes. I Am Ready, Warden. Now, this is about a man who he gets into a fight and he brutally murders another man, and he runs, and I think he gets away for either 4 or 5 years, and in that meantime he's had a son of his own. Well, the man that he murdered had a child. I think it was 14 at the time of his death. And so we focus on both of those characters. We focus on the man who's in jail and his son, who is, I think, either 14 or 16, visiting him in prison. And then we also focus on the more adult man who wants retribution for the death of his father. And boy, you go back and forth on this. This is a very, very powerful film. And it's heartbreaking because he is executed, and he has to make a phone call to his child, and we get to hear that, the final phone call. And then we get to hear we get to see the man's reaction to the news. Like, he doesn't even know, he's listening to a broadcast. I don't know why he wasn't invited. Maybe in Texas they don't, but they did invite certain people there. But the victim, the son of the victim, didn't go. Maybe he chose not to, but he's listening to it, and he doesn't even know when it happens. And it's a very surreal moment in the film when he finally hears, oh, it's kind of like now he's dead. He's already been, and they don't say like, oh, he's getting prepared, or, he's being injected now. It's like they're talking, and then, oh, we just got news that he's dead. And it's just like a huge shocking moment for this character. I'm kind of spoiling the movie. I shouldn't, because, man, this had a huge impact. It was such a good documentary. There's one other very, very powerful moment in the movie where he listens to, like, the man who killed the father. He wrote, he actually recorded a general message. He's not allowed to reach out to the victims, so he made a general message, but it was for the son. And he's like, I know I'm already dead. I hope this brings you peace. But he says some other things, and I'm not going to spoil it. But, man, the reaction of the man, it's very heartbreaking. This is a good film that I think people should watch. And it's called I Am Ready, Warden, and this one needs to win the award. I don't think it will. I think I know which one will win, and that's because on my ballot it was highlighted, and when I thought about it, it makes sense. I'm going to talk about it when I get to it. But this of all of them, this is the one you need to see. Very good, 30 minutes. Just, it packs a punch. Next is this one's on Netflix. It's Michaela's Voice, A Letter to the World. And this is about an autistic girl who learns how to communicate through a teacher with a kind of message board. And it's quite shocking, because I have a couple of autistic children in my family, and to think that they are able to communicate this way if they're only taught. Now, I don't know if all of them can. There is one in my family who it's severe, but to know that they're able to communicate and we're just not tapping into that, it's pretty eye-opening, right? And I know people try their hardest to actually communicate, and in my family, we have like little boards that they could touch and say yes or no and those kind of things. But this child is able to write like complete letters and poetry, and it's very powerful in that sense. Now, it wasn't my favorite, but it still had a powerful message, and it's on Netflix, and I would recommend it. The next one is called Incident. And in this, we witness an African American getting shot. It's like uh, this is like graphic. You gotta be careful because he is shot, and we get to see him killed, and we are just given the all of the footage from different cameras of what's going on throughout the entire event, before, during, after. Now, there is some commentary that's written on the screen, and I actually wish it wasn't there, because in many instances it's biased. And I don't think we need bias in this instance. I think we can draw our own conclusion. And what's really scary about this is how it's hard to draw a conclusion. It's when you watch everything, and it's tragic, and it could totally be avoided. But when you see how everything plays out, you see what kind of problem we have. And I hate to say this, but it's hard to put blame. And I think the people involved they were rookies, and they felt that they were in danger. They shouldn't have felt that way. There should have been better training. But when you see how everything plays out, I genuinely believe they thought they were in danger. And even though they weren't. And that's why maybe these people should be wearing stun guns instead of live ammunition, especially if they're rookies. So what's really interesting about this is you do get all the different footage. You're sometimes watching 4 different screens at once, like this. Sometimes it's 1, then it'll go to 2, then it'll go to 3, and you're getting the different viewpoints from depending on, like, there's a street camera that they use to zoom in. There is the police cameras, which I think this took place in Chicago, and they are required to release all footage within 30 or 60 days after any incident, and that's why this is called Incident. Yeah, it's actually a very powerful piece as well. And like I said, I would have preferred not to have the actual commentary that's on there. I just would have. I think it's very powerful just watching all the video footage on my own. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about was very interesting, but for me it was the weakest, and that one is called Eternal Father. Now, the idea behind this is that a man is going to surrender his body to be frozen cryogenically, and it's about the conversations that he has with his children and how they start to incorporate that into their thoughts and even into their play. It's very interesting. So this is really a look inside a family who is dealing with something that's different. And they all start having a debate, like, are they going to do it? And like, the mother doesn't want to do it, but the father does. And then the children they're not sure. And there's this idea of, well, you're gonna you're gonna live your entire life, talking to the child, and then later you'll decide if you want to, and you might even be older than I am now when you actually do it, and then you might get out before me or after me. It brought up all these like weird kind of time travel issues. The one thing that I didn't understand, and I don't think it was answered, is he going to surrender himself, or is it legal to surrender yourself before death? So that, let's say I want to be frozen cryogenically and I don't want to wait until I'm 80 because my body has already deteriorated more, and so that I could do it at an early. I don't think that's legal, but it was never really addressed in the film. I didn't like like they added some schlocky scenes, like they put all the family underwater like they were in suspended animation, each one of them, and I just thought it was hokey. It didn't need to be done. So anyways, of all of them, it had interesting ideas, but it was the weakest for me. Next was Instruments of a Beating Heart. And wow, this is good. This gives you insight into Japanese culture. And one of the main points of this movie is how Japanese culture and American culture, or I could just say Western culture, how different we are when it comes to educating children. you're going to see how the children work together in almost every aspect of their educational system. And this one is going to be hard to watch because a teacher makes a child cry. And as a teacher, I'm supposed to say how wrong that is. But in the context of this movie, I think it was necessary because it made her stronger. And so people are going to say, hey, you should never humiliate a child and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Like this teacher did it. It made the child stronger. And the teacher later, after she, went through everything she needed to, he comes up and he talks to her about what happened and why they did it. And he never focuses on her. He always focuses on, hey, you didn't practice last night when you were supposed to. Not that, hey, you're stupid and you never got this done, but the fact that you're letting the entire class down because they're preparing to play Ode to Joy for an incoming group of first graders to their school, and they're second graders. And they all have to prepare this, and everybody has to work, in tandem to make the sound of the orchestra. And they all have to learn their parts. And this young girl, first off, she auditions and doesn't get in. She's devastated and she's crying. That's acceptable. Everybody has to audition, and if some kids are going to get in and some kids aren't. But then when the teacher is like scolding her for not practicing and we see her break down, it's pretty rough to watch because she's such a sweet little girl. And even if she wasn't a sweet little girl, it's hard to see a child cry. But in the context of this documentary, you can really see the differences in culture. This one is a beautiful movie to watch. Just be aware that some things in the movie might make some people angry. But I think that's what documentaries should do. They shouldn't make people just sit back and be comfortable. You should be experiencing things that make you think. And yeah, great documentary. If I would, this would be my second choice for winner. And the last one, because I didn't see the fifth one. So the last one is The Only Girl in the Orchestra. And this is the one that is picked to possibly win. And the reason I think that it's picked is it's a traditional New York story. And I think New York or Los Angeles stories always have a leg up on everyone else just because of the people who are voting. Now, this is the first woman who was in, I think, the New York Philharmonic. She was the first one to get in. And there's a part in this where they are reading articles about her. They're all saved. And man, some of the really famous conductors said some really awful things in print about women. It's shocking. But she had Leonard Bernstein on her side. And there's a photo that they keep referencing of him and articles. And she talks about how it's so important for some people to stand out, but it's important for other people who don't want to stand out, because both of her parents were very famous film actors and she never wanted to be in the spotlight. So she picked something to do where she could be in the background, but you have to do what you do well or else the whole thing doesn't work. And she plays her instrument, and she's very famous. And later in life, she's a teacher. And it's a very, very good documentary. It's just not my favorite of all of them. I just think some of the other stories are more impactful, although this is certainly an important story that needs to be told, about women breaking barriers and what they had to go through and the opposition, and all of it just seems so silly now, but it was a fact that, women had to go through this, and we could argue that it's still not all the way there. And of course, I didn't see the fifth one, so I can't really gauge that one. Now, I did watch two of the fiction shorts. The first one was I'm Not a Robot. And it's about a woman who does CAPTCHA. because something's wrong with her computer and she can't pass it. And so she calls IT and they're like, wait, are you sure you're not a robot? And it goes from there. It's very surreal and funny and weird. It's a good short. The ending was just a little bit weird. It was very dramatic at the end. I did enjoy it, and I think this one is from Norway as well. So I don't think it's gonna win. I didn't see all five, but I can't imagine something beating this, and that was Anuja. Now, this is a story of two sisters working in a factory in India, I think. Was it India? Yeah, I think it was India. And just what they go through. Now, it's a heartbreaking story because it's so realistic, because so many kids go through this. Now, one of the girls, the young girls, she's a math prodigy, and she just has everything stacked against her. There's this beautiful story told at the very beginning, and we have to wonder why that story is told. Now, when we get to the end of it, it's left, there's a lot of vagueness. And so there's some interpretation left open, but there are some clues, like the one sister pricks her finger, and which is, very similar to some fairy tales. And there's a fairy tale told at the beginning. But the rest of this is just like trying to find beauty under these horrifying conditions. And then what do you do? Because there's an element of self-sacrifice in this. Each sister seems to have to sacrifice herself for the other. It's a very, very good short. I think everybody should watch it. I think it's free. You can watch this one for free. I haven't seen 3 of them, but this one I would want to win. I would just like to plug an older movie that I absolutely loved when it came out, and that is Salam Bombay. This reminded me of it in so many ways. That movie is also very, very impactful about children, street children. Oh, and by the way, a lot of the actors in this movie were street children, just like in Salam Bombay. And at the very end, they actually show the film in one of the orphanages there, and all the kids are watching, and that's also a powerful moment in the movie, in the short. And there you have it. 43 minutes of rambling about Oscars. I was Oscar shamed by my husband. I talked about putting comic books in, like being very precise and anal about my comic collection. I showed off some albums. Stevey D sent me some amazing comic books. Thank you again for that. I'm hoping I'm not leaving anything out. I usually do. But again, I want to thank everyone for the support. I probably won't be watching the Oscars. I usually don't. I'm more about what the Oscars like kind of brings, like getting us to watch things and discuss movies and everything like that. I'm probably going to be watching The Conclave right after this. Then I need to watch the next episode of Severance. And then I'm going to jump into Batman. And so I probably won't even watch the Academy Awards. I really don't care for award shows, but I just like all the hype about all the nominees and all that kind of stuff, getting me to watch or take part in some things that I normally wouldn't. And I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I want to thank everybody out there for the support.